confusion, Gregory initially believed this lone mounted figure to be an envoy, and so did not react. Gregory was killed and his head sliced from his body.
Oh my gosh! Oh, so that is unnecessarily barbaric. Okay, so I decided to skip the conquest of Roman Egypt when it rebelled, because I already did that for History Marsh. So yeah, we're gonna skip that on occasion. Generals want. I don't think I'm missing out
Muslim approached
much
and beseeched him to stop the violence. Although the conqueror of Egypt was by no means a merciful man by nature, his kinsman's words had such an impact that Amma immediately ordered the cessation of hostilities. In the aftermath of the Second Siege of Alexandria, Amma ripped down the walls and made the city, in his words, like the house of an adulteress, accessible from all sides. The neglect of Egypt's defense was also remedied.
Whoa! Whoa! I just processed what. Yo, that is a wild quote. Okay.
With the new division of its Muslim garrison into 4 parts, 2 in Fustat and 1 each in Alexandria and on the northern coast, to be moved around where necessary. It would also be rotated and the troops replaced every 6 months. Not only had Amr ibn Alas both conquered and reconquered Egypt in difficult circumstances, he had built the foundations of a rule that would secure Muslim hegemony over the fruitful country. For this, Amr well expected to be rewarded by Uthman, but he was to be disappointed. Uthman wanted his tax fiend of a brother to occupy the plum position, but was aware that Amr probably deserved some reward for his deeds. So, summoning the conqueror to his place of residence, Uthman inquired if he would like to remain in military command of Egypt, while Abdullah ibn Sa'd managed civilian administration. Amr responded with the witty barb, "In that case I would be like the man holding the horns of the cow while another milks it."
Facts!
For the remainder of Uthman's caliphate, Amr would bear a
Don't disrespect my boy Amr like that, come on.
Potent
come on.
And even oppose him publicly. This mutual resentment was to have serious consequences for Islamic history in the near future.
Oh my gosh. Bro, there is no other relationship than having mutual resentment. Yo, holy moly, bro. Dude, let me tell you, man. Before I had this channel, and I just more or less just keep to myself now, because I kind of hate being around people, because most people are annoying as hell, dealing with your nonsense. Bro, the amount of people that I've had in the past that I mutual resentment. And it's funny thinking about it now, because like I knew that they did not like me, but I did not like them back. I'm just like, man, freaking hell. I don't want to be here with you, but you're not giving me too much problems that I'm just tolerating you for the time being, right? Hilariously enough, one of those people, I actually made a community post about him a long time ago, actually. One of these people that I had a mutual resentment to. I usually don't really like to go into details about it, because I don't even like to talk about that. I don't even want to give those people like enough attention. But one of those people, he actually tried to frame me, and he tried to get me charged unironically. And because of that, I had so much free time. I mean, he gave me what I wanted anyways. Like I was gone from him. I was like, oh, thank God, I'm not gonna deal with that problem anymore. But because of that, I had so much free time on my hands back when I was still in school that I was able to create this channel. So I mean that butterfly effect is just amazing, right? It's just amazing. Oh, and he knows about this channel too. All right, he knows about this channel. He stalks my channel all the time because he thought that he ruined my life, but he didn't do anything to me, which is hilarious, really and truly. But yeah, that mutual resentment, dude. Oh my, that's like a feeling of none other that no one can you would not understand it unless you're in it yourself, really and truly. Like oh my goodness, man. I don't deal with that anymore because I'm like focusing on myself and like grinding. Not just going on my purpose, really and truly. So I'm not really around people. I just keep to myself because I don't want to deal with that anymore. But yeah. Oh my gosh, man, that mutual resentment. Ugh. Oh, I could tell you so many stories.
By the end of 646 AD, the entire Near East had been transformed into a completely different geopolitical entity than it was just 2 decades before and had been for many centuries prior. On its eastern wing, a 4-century-old dynasty, the Sassanids, were now all but dust, its last true Shah pursued across Iran by eastward driving Muslim armies and its ancient territory devoured. In the north, Rashidun forces reached the Caucasus mountain barrier, enclosing the once insurmountable Byzantine Empire within its Anatolian heartland in the process. Now that all major battles against Rome and Persia were at an end, Islam's armies began seeking another direction in which to conquer. Once Constans II's counterattack against Egypt was decisively repelled, Caliph Uthman's foster brother Abdullah ibn Sa'd began launching raids into the Roman Berber lands west of his new province. These small expeditions quickly proved a stunning success, returning with vast quantities of slaves, cattle, and other riches. Judging that Roman Africa would yield an easy and generous bounty if squeezed, the Egyptian governor wrote to Uthman asking for permission to launch a major campaign to the west. Uthman agreed with Abdullah's assessment and decreed the formation of a 10,000-strong force in Arabia, composed of warriors from various tribes. It was a relatively young army, and in its ranks marched 1 son of Amr, 2 sons of Umar, and 2 sons of Umayyad chief Al-Hakam, one of whom was the future Marwan I. The freshly mustered Arab force was ready for war in early 647 and marched for Egypt, joining Abdullah ibn Sa'd at Fustat a few weeks later.
So where's he gonna
There,
go?
the 10,000 newly arrived Arabic fighters were merged with a further 10,000 from the governor's Egyptian army, resulting in a total strength of 20,000. With this mostly camel and horse-mounted invasion force at his back, Abdullah marched west. This part of the Mediterranean seaboard bore witness to some of the ancient world's most dramatic events during the course of several centuries. Emperor Heraclius' father had previously served as ruler of this sizable exarchate of Africa before his son's ascension to the Byzantine throne in 610, upon which the elder governor died. Close to the emperor's death in 641, Heraclius himself appointed as exarch a patrician known as Gregory. However, dynastic chaos following the death of Heraclius and Constans II's inability to repel Muslim attacks, particularly in nearby Egypt, were all too much for Gregory. In 647, as Uthman's army was in the process of readying to attack him, the Exarch declared independence from Constantinople amid a surge of popular support from Romanized Africans and native Berbers alike.
Did you hear what he just said? Did you hear what he just said? Did you hear what he just said? Romanized Africans. Romanized Africans. It blows my mind, bro, how people do not understand that assimilation is so common and it's constantly happening throughout history. Literally, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, I was literally on freaking Instagram, on the freaking Barbados news, right, which is my country, Instagram's page, because I still check and see what the heck is going on up in my country here and there, obviously, because I don't live down there. I live in Florida for the time being, but I still check and see what the heck is going on, right? And oh my freaking gosh, dude, I got into this argument. It was this freaking other Bajan, because that's what we're called, Bajans. This Bajan, Barbadian, just a short term for Barbadian, right? And we were arguing about freaking slavery because way too many people, not all people, but way too many people over there, they like to cry and complain about slavery too much, blah, 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 blah. And I looked at her, and the argument began because it was an Instagram reel from a Barbadian page explaining how Barbados combines its British and African heritage for Christmas, right? How it combines British Christmas traditions with its African heritage and mix it into our own Barbadian thing, right? And she said, wait, hold
on. We need to stop worshiping European culture, and we need to stop practicing the white man's culture, and we need to go and I don't know what the hell she's like.
I don't know what the hell she's like. I can't remember. But it was something along those lines. It was like, my white person, how dare you practice a white culture? You're kissing the white man. So I looked at her and I was like, nobody isn't worshiping a white man culture or anything. I'm like, do you realize that Barbados is the most British Caribbean island? I'm like, this is literally a fact. Like, you cannot have Barbados without its British heritage. Like, you cannot have Barbados. Like, this is a common fact. Everybody knows. Everybody in Barbados. I do not care. You could be complaining about slavery all you want. You could be complaining about white people all you want, because some people do that down there. Everybody knows that Barbados is British to its core. You remove that, you don't have Barbados, okay? It's like taking a person's brain and removing it. You just have a body now, right? Okay. And then she looked at me and she was like, oh, you need to stop kissing the white man's feet. You need to stop kissing the white man's feet, bro. I'm like, bro, do you realize that, number one, the African kingdoms literally had slaves already? That's the thing that a lot of people tend to overlook. The African slavery whole system that already existed before the Europeans came. It's just that when the Europeans came, the Africans realized that, well, the African kings just simply realized that, oh wait, I could make more money out of this, and it expanded that system and started selling it to Europeans. That's it. But that system was already around. So I pointed this out to her, and she said, you need to stop watching a lot of nonsense and watch a whole actual history. So I look at this lady and I'm like, you are literally talking to a guy who discusses history every single day, like as a hobby. And she was like, oh my god, bro, yo. And she has the audacity to look at me and says, I also study history. If you actually look at history of West Africa, you know that the Europeans influenced and manipulated the West African king. Bro, I even thinking about it has me losing brain cells. Anyways, I'm pointing this out because, guys, assimilation, okay, it's a normal thing. Okay, I don't know who needs to hear this. It's a normal thing. The Romanicized Africans, okay? You're talking to a guy who's mixed, not even fully African, hilariously enough. Well, no, I'm not even African. I'm African. I'm partially African descent. I actually have Indian genes inside of me, by the way. Funny enough. I'm gonna talk about that another time. But you know, you're talking to an anglicized person, right? Like, it's ridiculous how so many people just do not understand what assimilation is, especially for places like my country. People just look at us and think, "Oh, you're black. How could you be English?" I'm like, what? Like, that's so stupid. Or those people, and I get some of these people in my comments, which is why I'm talking about this so long, who have the audacity to look at me and tell me, "Oh, your country was conquered." No, it was not. It was uninhabited. Claimed by Spain. Spain didn't even give a blast about the island. The English came, settled it, built it from scratch into partially what it is today. When we became independent, we inherited everything, and we simply continued that legacy of what the English started. So, of course, we are going to be anglicized. Of course, we are going to assimilate. There was nothing else around us. There was no other culture. Which that same lady I was arguing with, she literally said, and she claimed that she was from the same country. She was like, "Oh, you don't know how the English, how the Europeans went and conquered the local people of Barbados." I'm like, are you actually from Barbados? Because any person from Barbados literally knows the island was uninhabited. Uninhabited. Nobody was on the island. I'm like, there's no way you're from Barbados, and you unironically just said that there were locals on Barbados. There was none. Absolutely none. I had this discussion with my brother a long time ago when I actually lived in Barbados, and he looked at me. He was like, "Oh, I used to think Barbados was one of those countries who had to fight for their independence, against the European oppressor." But he was like, when he actually learned more and he realized there was no fighting. It's just Britain just looked at us and was like, "Yeah, I don't want to manage you guys anymore. Go be an independent country and keep our monarch as your head of state." That was it. But like, Britain willfully just let us go. There was no fighting or anything, none of that. All right, I'm done with my yapping. Let's continue, shall we?
Abdullah ibn Sa'd, meanwhile, crossed the Nile from Fustat and took his army up the west bank until he neared Alexandria, at which point he drove northwest and cut across the desert as a shortcut. After a few more days, the Viceroy's 20,000 hit the Mediterranean coastal road and marched along its course until, finally, after a 6-week journey, Abdullah reached Barca, the city which his predecessor Amr seized years before. The Muslims then marched a further 700 miles along the Mediterranean coast around the Bay of Sirte, enduring the scorching privations of a North African summer. The Arabs were used to such arid conditions and thrived in them, an advantage which helped them conquer the Near East. When the Rashidun army finally reached Tripoli,
Reminds me of how I'm like used to hot, humid, tropical climates because that's what I was raised in. But I can't do the slightest bit of cold. I'm cold as hell right now. I'm cold as hell, guys. The reason why this video is taking so long is because I was cold as hell when I woke up. I'm like, oh, I don't want to get up. I'm gonna be so cold, shivering when I'm recording myself, doing my reaction.
Tripoli, closer to the heart of Gregory's realm. Its warriors found the heavily fortified city barred against them, contrary to the friendly reception they'd received in Cyrenaica. As Amr did half a decade earlier, Abdullah blockaded Tripoli on its landward flank and placed it under siege. In order to slow or prevent any resupply or reinforcement by ship, Abdullah stationed artillery at both points where the city wall met the water. They were ordered to strike any enemy vessel which attempted to enter the harbour, and effectively rendered the seaport unusable. Gregory, who was readying the main Exarchate army at his inland capital of Sufetula, had a naval reinforcement armada dispatched from Carthage to Tripoli. However, rather than disembarking at the port on arrival as they would have liked, the transport ships were forced to disgorge their human cargo on segments of the beach which were outside of Abdullah's artillery range and outside the wall's protection. Although this prevented Rashidun catapults and ballistae from carving bloody holes into their ranks, It made the tired and disorganized soldiers easy prey for Muslim infantry, which charged at them from two different angles. Exhausted from the long sea voyage and without any time to deploy adequately, Gregory's reinforcements were scythed down to a man on the beaches of Libya.
Wow! And they just got there. Wow! Wow! All of that for what? Wow!
Remaining vigilant against any further attempts to prop Tripoli up, Rashidun forces nevertheless were unable to breach the well-provisioned, nigh impregnable fortress. As his army languished outside the walls, Abdullah ordered riders to scout in the direction of Sufetula to observe any military activity going on there. A few weeks later, two things were clear to the Muslim governor. First, Tripoli was still a long ways away from opening its gates to him, and remaining static outside its walls seemed pointless. Second, reports from his scouts made it apparent to Abdullah that the newly independent Roman Exarch was planning for a fight. Possibly convinced Tripoli was just a delaying action, which only served to grind down his own army's strength and will to push on, the Muslim governor lifted his siege and spirited away to the west. The Rashidun army and its thrifty commander plundered their way.
I never knew about this independent thing. I'm actually very invested into this.
Through the wealthiest region of Roman Africa, unmoored from any supply train and therefore unconcerned about the Tripoli garrison behind them. At Sufetula, Gregory was made aware of the Muslims' location the moment they passed through Gabes, and reacted to the news immediately, with the intent of engaging his enemy well away from his interim inland capital. To do this, the Exarch ponderously shifted his heavily equipped, primarily infantry-based army, which probably matched that of the Muslims in size, to a blocking position at Faiz, 30 kilometers from Sufetula, and set up a camp there. Part of the Exarch's army was placed slightly forward of the camp as a covering force. However, only a short time after Gregory's force went into camp, the Rashidun light cavalry advance guard fell on its Roman counterpart, sending it reeling back into the main camp in flight. Unnerved by such strength from the Muslim mounted units, Gregory ordered his army to withdraw all the way to Sufetula, believing his position at Faiz was too vulnerable. About 4 miles east of his capital, the Exarch turned and readied for battle. Such close proximity to its base granted the Roman army logistical supremacy, prevented wide flanking maneuvers from the mobile opposing army, and permitted them a safe retreat inside if they needed it. The Muslims arrived soon after and made their own camp a short way from Gregory's front line. One rejected emissary later, both sides deployed for battle on the arid plain about 4 miles from Sufetula. The Roman army's posture was defensive, its line anchored to the north and south by 2 high ridges. Abdullah, realizing the observation potential of these terrain features, successfully sent forces to occupy them. Unlike his more iron-willed predecessor, Abdullah ibn Sa'd was considered personally weak by the warriors under his command, an accountant and bureaucrat rather than general or soldier.
I swear, some people just have like, it's really wild when you think about how in life some people just have certain characteristics that they're just good at, but they don't have, like, have you ever like seen like a person that is universal, like very versatile, like he's strong, actually smart? I'm talking like high IQ smart, can do basically everything. Have you really seen that? I've never really seen that before. Usually when you see somebody good at something, they usually just are good at that one thing, and they typically not really versatile. With me personally, you might call me a bit cocky for this, but I don't really care, because people point this out all the time. Me personally, I'm tall, right? I'm like super tall, people are like, oh my gosh, you should go play basketball. I'm like 190 centimeters tall. But I'm a nerd, right? Yeah, I have this YouTube channel. I don't play sports. Go put me in a sports environment. Oh, I'll be trash. But you go put me in something like this, like relating to history. Oh my gosh, I'd be on fire. Oh, I could tell you so many stories of me in my U.S. history class, and how shocked everybody in the class would be like, who the heck is this guy? Like how does he know all this information? Like, I'm not even kidding you. I'm not even exaggerating that, man. But I'm like super nerdy. And then I'm also like a pretty boy, but I'm not like super buff either, right? So I'm like tall, but I don't play basketball. But I'm like pretty boyish, but I'm not like buff, right? So I was thinking about it. I was like, wow, people like you never really see like a genuine person that's versatile. I think God purposely did that though, because probably God purposely did that. Now you might be thinking to yourself,
how could you call yourself a pretty boy?
Well, if you watch me long enough, you probably notice that I don't really care how I look on camera. Two, you probably notice that you probably have seen me where I actually made sure, like, I actually look normal and I didn't look completely chopped, okay? Even now, I look kind of chopped, but not extremely chopped right now. And three, like, literally, like, I get compliments all the time. I'm not even saying that to brag or anything. I'm just, like, objectively saying it as is. I'll just use myself as an example there, because I can't really think of anyone else to use as an example, because I don't really like hang around most other people, or really and truly I don't really like look at other people. I only, frankly speak, only look at myself. So all right, let's continue.
Lacking Amr's bravery, Abdullah retreated to a safe position behind the line where he was not likely to suffer any
But the only real issue that I have with myself right now is the fact that I have a freaking overbite. I said this in my last video. So right now, and it's gotten significantly worse. If you watch my super old videos, like I'm talking like when I recently uploaded, you will notice that my lips don't look as full. But like over time, you'll notice that my lips slowly look more and more fuller. That's because I have an overbite. I need to go and get braces for that. So, but before that, you could go check out and see.
Personal threat once the army was deployed to his liking. Fortunately, Gregory was a kindred spirit in that he wasn't a bold frontline commander either, choosing to oversee the clash from a throne inside the walls of Sufetula. Subordinates and lower-level officers fought the battle for him on a tactical level. At the dawn of the next day, fighting commenced. Details about the first days of Sufetula are unclear and sparse in our sources, but it is evident that the combat was incredibly fierce, uninterrupted.
I love this OST. This soundtrack is amazing.
The battlefield was a flat plain. The ridges on either flank prevented any outflanking maneuvers or fancy tactical flair. Moreover, the uninvolved nature of both armies' skittish commanders further paralyzed the situation. After a few days of such indecisive fighting, Gregory decided to attempt an assassination of the enemy leader in order to sever the head from the Muslim serpent, but obviously wasn't going to do the deed himself. Instead, he offered to wed his legendarily beautiful, intelligent and valiant daughter to the Roman warrior who killed Abdullah. Morale in the Exarch's army skyrocketed at this news, with each warrior, whether they were Roman, Vandalic, Greek or Berber, steeling themselves with the aim of gaining the princess's hand.
No way! Oh, disgusting! Disgusting! Really? 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 Like, come on, you're simping? Really? Oh my gosh, disgusting. When will us as men do better? Seriously, like when will us as men do better, bro? When will we as men do better and stop overrating women? Overrated does not mean bad. But come on, bro. She cannot be all that, bro. Come on. Come on. I can't even talk about that stuff here because that's kind of unrelated. I have a whole different channel where I do talk about that stuff there. I never really decided to show it because I want to keep those two channels separate. If you find it, congratulations. If you don't, you probably won't anytime soon because it's a relatively new channel. That's like 41 subscribers. But yeah, no, trust me, my videos do get views on that channel as well. So I'm not just doing that in vain. Trust me. I'm not. But seriously, like, I'm just like, dude, seriously, this whole sentiment of like just men going crazy over women, that has to stop. Like I talk about that stuff over there, but seriously, that has to stop. Like, as someone who doesn't have trouble with attracting women, and guys, believe me, and when you see me in person and you see like how everyone who sees me on camera sees me in person, they always say, "Oh my god, you look at 1,000 times better in person." Look, trust me, I could have been with like some gorgeous women in the past, but I willfully chose not to. Okay, because they're not what you think they are. Try to freaking tell this to so many dudes. I've actually convinced a lot of dudes, actually, well, not a lot, but some dudes, that like, bro, don't go above and beyond for women, bro. Like, don't do that. If anything, they should be going above and beyond for you. You might be saying, wait, that doesn't make any sense. No, trust me, it does. Guys, like, these guys are literally risking their lives over a chick, bro. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. And you want to know what's funny? Is these guys are risking their lives, but she probably has some guy that she actually likes that doesn't need to do any of that. This cycle continues to this very day in 2025, because this is New Year's Eve. I witness so many men going above and beyond for a chick who has some other guy, because believe me, all women have a guy on their mind that they want, that they could do literally anything in the world. They don't care. All women have that guy. Okay? Going above and beyond while she has a guy on her brain who could just get her like this. I'm talking about these gorgeous women that most of y'all drool over. How do I know this?
Because I've been that guy that they're thinking about.
Bro, I'm not even trying to like cocky or arrogant, but I'm just saying, like, from my experience, like, I see this. I've had girls, literally, like, girls I used to talk to will literally show me the stupidness that men are going above and beyond for them. Meanwhile, I'm there in the background just doing none of that. All right, let's continue. I'm just saying, man, guys, do better, please.
Word of this also spread throughout the Muslim army, and in particular to Abdullah himself. Not at all comfortable with being a marked man, his confidence suffered an even further decline. To counter Gregory's offer, the Muslim commander announced to his army that he would grant the Exarch's daughter to any warrior who personally killed her father, before withdrawing to his tent. Still, however, the next few days continued.
Crazy. Come on, women aren't something that you could just go and off like. What the hell?
As a deadly
that is
stalemate
so
of bitter
absurd.
violence, brought to a crescendo by the offer and counteroffer between generals. This continued without end until one of Abdullah's officers, Zubayr, was approached by a Berber defector from Gregory's army. He told the Muslim captain that because fighting had until that point been quite far from the walls, the Exarch's position near Sufetula's northern gate was actually very thinly defended. Alerted to this crucial information and the best route which he should take in order to exploit the opportunity, Zubayr put forward his plan to the demoralized Muslim commander and was granted leadership over the army's mobile reserve, about 2,000 strong. The invaders' spirits were buoyed due to the dynamism and boldness of this dashing young officer, who spent the remainder of the day setting his scheme into motion. Swarmed by warriors who desired to embark on the risky venture with him, the younger Zubayr eventually selected 30 of the fiercest, most capable and valiant combatants his army could offer as an attack squad. When asked what they were to do, Zubayr replied, "I am attacking. Defend me against those who assail me from the rear, and I shall defend you from the front." During the near soundless hours of night, after issuing all necessary orders, Zubayr positioned himself, his 30 stalwarts, and the mobile reserve horsemen behind Sufetula's northern ridge. Then, when morning came, both armies closed with one another and fought as though nothing had changed. At noon, with an especially hot day weighing down on them heavily, both armies broke contact and withdrew. The Romans quickly, the Muslims suspiciously sluggishly. Distracted by the din of war, Gregory, his attendants and guards did not notice Zubayr and his band of daredevils gallop into the city through what became known as the Gate of Treachery. Realizing what was happening, the Exarch's guard formed a hasty line, but the 30 Muslim warriors broke it and allowed Zubayr a clean run at the African ruler. In the confusion, Gregory initially believed this lone mounted figure to be an envoy, and so did not react. Gregory was killed and his head sliced from his body.
Oh my gosh! Oh, so that is unnecessarily barbaric. Ugh. Oh my.
Word of their leader's death quickly reached the retreating Roman infantry, causing terrible confusion and disheartening the soldiers. Then, at the perfect moment, Zubayr's large mounted reserve crested the north ridge, rode at a gallop, and charged into the disorganized Exarchate army's left wing with saber and lance before wheeling around the battlefield. Simultaneously, the bulk of the Muslim infantry turned about and advanced, locking their tenacious enemy into an unwinnable fight. Pressured from the front by Arab infantry and outmaneuvered by swift Muslim horsemen all around, the Roman army collapsed and its soldiers scattered in all directions in their attempts to flee. Zubayr's cavalry reaped an especially bloody toll, and within a short time, the battered corpses of Romans, Berbers, Vandals and Greeks littered the plain outside Sufetula. Despite the slaughter, several thousand of Gregory's soldiers managed to retreat intact towards the capital, believing its walls would grant them safety. It wasn't their lucky day. Zubayr, having handily dealt with the Exarch, sent small squadrons to hold each of Sufetula's gates, preventing entry or exit. When the retreating columns of exhausted Roman soldiers reached the city, therefore, they were viciously attacked by Muslim cavalry coming the other way and cut to pieces. The Rashidun triumph at Sufetula is frequently touted as the point at which Roman Africa was forever lost to the empire. And while it was a back-breaking moment for the province, this was far from true. Once the vast quantity of captured silver, gold and cattle was accumulated and distributed, Abdullah ibn Sa'd moved on the Exarchate's real capital, Carthage. Upon putting the millennia-old city to siege, the Muslim commander and local leaders within the city came to an impasse. There was no chance that the besiegers would be able to take Carthage with their overextended supply lines and barely functional siege train. But at the same time, there was no way for the inhabitants of Carthage to make them go away. However, with exaggerated reports of Gregory's fate fresh in their minds, they asked for terms after only a few days. Always with income on his brain, Abdullah ibn Sa'd accepted a vast quantity of Roman gold as payment to leave Africa alone, keeping only what they had so far conquered. After a subsequent eastward journey of about 3 months, the Muslim army arrived back in Fustat by late 647. bringing with it a vast hoard of wealth which further swelled the treasury in Medina. Regardless of the gathered loot, Abdullah had effectively won a victory and then given up the ghost before the conquest was concluded. At about this time, late 648, the governor of Syria, Muawiyah, launched a naval expedition of unknown scale to Cyprus in order to neutralize any potential threat that it posed as a staging point for future Byzantine attacks. Muawiyah landed on the Mediterranean island and seized it without opposition, exacting a tribute of 7,000 dinars annually. With the North African front winding down, most expansionist movement within the Rashidun Caliphate came to a halt. 3 years passed in relative quiet until Abdullah ibn Sa'd led another attempt to conquer Nubia in 652, failing once again due to the country's Archers of the Eye.
I'll never forget that, yo. Yo, those Nubians are crazy, man. It's funny to me how I've had people try to look at me and tell me that Nubians, in my comments, try to tell me that Nubians weren't relatively like involved in like North African history up until like 18th century, 19th century. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Nubians were always involved in North Africa's history for a long time, because I always like point out that Nubians were literally dark-skinned people and they were very much involved, had contact with these worlds here. And people were like, oh, that's not the case. Or like how like ancient Egypt had black pharaohs unironically, and people were like, oh, well, if you're talking about Nubians, yeah, those are Nubians. But I'm like, okay, but they were still black pharaohs. Like, why? Ugh. I hate when people try to distort history. It's so annoying.
Because the situation on land between Eastern Rome and the Caliphate had calcified at the Taurus Mountains, both sides began looking to the sea for an advantage. If Constantinople maintained its naval supremacy, it would have the ability to land a force in Syria, Egypt, or Africa at will. However, if the Caliphate usurped this control, they could make the Mediterranean a Muslim lake and even threaten the great imperial city. To that end, both the Egyptian governor and Roman emperor refocused their efforts on constructing vast fleets of ships with which to dominate the sea. In 654 AD, the Arab and Roman fleets met off the Lycian coast at what became known as the Battle of the Masts. Abdullah ibn Sa'd revealed himself to be a veritable sea wolf compared to his feeble reputation on land, crushing Constans II's navy in the first true Muslim naval triumph and clearing the way for an attack on Constantinople.
What? You see, that's why I was going back to, like, this guy isn't good on land, but he's a freaking expert on the sea. Like, nobody's never versatile.
From the status of a subjugated, scorned, and irrelevant people of the desert, the Arabs burst forth from their ancient homeland in a manner akin to an irresistible sandstorm, blowing away everything in their path in the course of just 2 decades. The third season of the early Muslim expansion will come in late 2021, and we will cover famous...
It's crazy, this is a 3rd season. Wow. Oh, man, you made it all the way to the end of the video. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for me, to me, go comment down below, man. Thank you for watching. Make sure you go check out my other reactions and like it so that my video's still in the algorithm. Anyways, I'm out.